have to admit, somebody doesn't encourage me to talk very often. I mean, can't really think of an instance when anybody ever did that. It was really, I'm generally speaking, I'm not an unpleasant person, I don't think, or I don't have a dismal or horribly dark personality, by nature. But the philosophy can get dark, and most people can't take that dark. I mean, it's too depressing, too down, too controlling, too negative, too real. Um, you know, you brought up some really interesting points. Some of this is related to a subject I wanted to do anyway, and so I'm not probably going to do it very good because I'm just doing this spontaneously, just as a reaction to what you were talking about and the fact that you encouraged it. So the first thing I'd say is there was one thing you said about like this is a standard goal with people, is that the goal of life is happiness, and I'd modify that. I mean, yes, you can be happy. I'm not saying being unhappy is a good thing, because it's not. But the goal is, I think, of a life is to be as productive as you can, to have as positive and as an influence as you can on the world around you. There's all these things that happen, and some of them are horrible, and some of those horrors you can minimize them. We do have control as individuals. We do have influence, and it's frustrating that we can't. I think we can. By better design of our systems, of our politics. I think we can end starvation and hunger and poverty and all these things. It's just a matter of will. I think there is a way. I think it's just a matter of will. I heard a statistic once: 2 million kids a year go blind for a lack of vitamin A. I mean, these are idiotic things. There's just no excuse for them. I've used this terminology. You have this word in our vocabulary, unacceptable. And it doesn't mean anything, because nothing's ever fucking unacceptable. I mean, we have unacceptable wars, we allow unacceptable circumstances to exist, and nothing changes, nothing's done. So anyway, I'm trying not to get too intense. But anyway, that would be a distinction for me. If we to make a Star Trek analogy, Kirk is the happy guy, the guy looking for a good feeling, and a good experience, a spiritual experience, whatever you want to call it. And Spock is the guy, looking to find the logical answer, the straight line. That knows that, well, if he can cut his arm off to save 500 other people from having their arm cut off, that's the logic. Taking it to the religious angle, the Jesus Christ story, Jesus got a great bargain in the sense that if somebody told me I could end poverty on earth, or I could end suffering on earth, and I just had to be crucified to do it, okay, crucify me. Yes, rip my guts out and gnaw on them. I don't care. You can impose as much pain on me as you want. As much as I don't want that, and I'll be scared to death of it, I would logically know there's going to be such a human and equal organisms exactly equal to me are going to be relieved of so much suffering that there's no way I couldn't take that bargain. I mean, it'd be, I can't say I'd have fun, but I mean, I just feel so damn good about the fact that, look what I was able to accomplish. What a wonderful fucking thing. And it's just so funny that people, these religious people are so grieved over the horror of the crucifixion. And from Jesus's point of view, it was your fucking salvation. It was a day of celebration, for Christ's sakes. I mean, big fucking deal. A few hours of suffering and for salvation. And the fact that even the Christians can't even get that, Instead, they cling to the horror. They cling to the torture and the misery and the suffering, and they don't even see what it represented in their own friggin' religion. They can't even figure that out. But I mean, obviously, it's a fairy tale, though, because obviously Jesus didn't save anybody from anything. Women still have pain in childbirth. We're all still blighted by this sin that God has declared us guilty of, that was committed in the garden, and He's therefore declared us perpetually confused. And that we're going to just play games with us here. And no matter if you're an honest, decent person, God's not going to give you the plan. He's not going to let you in on the secret. He's going to play this manipulation game with you, and you're supposed to figure out that, oh yeah, He's just testing me, and He's just trying to make me a better person. And so yeah, He killed my mother, and He did this, and He slaughtered my sister, and He did all this shit, and it's okay because He's got a plan, and He's trying to just make me more something, more what? Depressed and unhappy and miserable. I mean, shit. Well, anyway, let's not even go there. So that's the first thing I would talk about. And then the whole idea of crime and punishment is another one where I think there's, the word really isn't about punishment. And I'm going to use another Christian word. It's about reclamation. And I think logically it can be done. To use an English variation, the movie A Clockwork Orange, or the novel. A great demonstration that murder and all the rest of this stuff is more a matter of ignorance, and it's a matter of an incapacity, a lack of empathy, a lack of understanding, the wrong sensibilities, if you want to put it that way. And they don't have, when you have the wrong ethics to stop you from acting on it, then you're just going to be led by the compulsion. And so that's the flaw in A Clockwork Orange, is that it really shouldn't require somebody to be reconditioned, to have their sensibilities, their preference in ice cream flavor to match some social norm. It should just require them to have an understanding, a constitution in their head, a declaration that says to them, these are the rules of life. I could hate mankind, but because mankind could hate me, I don't have a right to kill mankind, because then mankind would have a right to kill me. It has to be this bargain you make that says these are the rules of existence. And so you can't take from somebody else what you are not willing to have somebody else take from you. Respect is a two-way street. And even, and then there's other principles like honesty, and this shouldn't require, I mean, it stuns me that adults haven't even figured out the importance of that character attribute. That it's really hard to function in this world if everybody is free to be a liar and a bullshitter. I mean, it's just, all this, look at the internet, all this spam, all this deception, all this manipulation, and why we find it all acceptable. We don't do anything about it. I mean, is amazing to me, because to me that's a fundamental trespass. You're trespassed against your fellow human when you deceive him. When you play games with the system and manipulate it in dishonest ways. And so honesty is, I'm glad you saw that, because that's what if there's anything I'd like to stand for, it is for at least being honest, at least getting to a truth inside yourself. I mean, people aren't willing to admit they're assholes. I have been an asshole in my life more than once. I'm capable of being one again. But accepting that, yeah, we are, honesty is what we have to strive for. It's almost like part of that whole thing. You can't be productive if you first haven't been honest, because honesty and the truth and logic are going to lead you to understanding what is productive, what is useful, what does make your life, even if it isn't fun, meaningful. And as long as there is suffering in the universe, I don't know whether there's a positive purpose for mankind, but I know for certain that there is suffering in the universe, and that we can fix, that we can mitigate. I mean, maybe we can't eliminate it, but we can reduce it. And so that should be a first objective. And then we can worry about, once we've solved that problem, then we can worry about finding some other purpose beyond just fixing the mess that our nature makes. Nature imposes this suffering, this ability to feel, And that we're always fighting with that. From the day we are born, we are trying to satisfy ourselves. We're trying to fill the holes that nature drilled into us. And so maybe once we fill all those holes, there won't be any purpose